Have you ever felt that something big is happening, but no one seems to notice? As if behind the media spotlight and religious ceremonies, a silent movement is unfolding, fulfilling a script written millennia ago? The death of a man may seem like just a fact, but what if it's the beginning of the outcome? As the world mourns and speculates about successors, few are asking, does this departure carry a prophetic sign? A forgotten connection between Rome and the apocalypse? Something that is not said in pulpits, but is between the lines of Scripture, waiting to be revealed. What if the most influential spiritual leader on earth is, in fact, the last link in a chain leading up to the final judgment? It's not a conspiracy theory, it is a spiritual provocation. The Bible teaches us that the last days would come like a thief in the night. And maybe that night has begun. But it's not about fear, it's about preparation. This video is not just about the death of the Pope, it's about what comes after. Because for those who know biblical prophecies, this news sounds different. It activates a calling, an urgency, a choice. And whoever has ears to hear, let him hear. For centuries, the prophecy attributed to St. Malachi was shrouded in mystery. An ancient document, supposedly revealed in 1139 by an Irish archbishop, listed 112 mottos that would describe all popes until the end of time. The curious thing? Pope Francis would be the last on the list, the so-called Peter the Roman. This simple statement aroused a collective concern. After all, are we really facing the end of an era? Or is this prophecy just another piece in the chess of theological speculations? The motto, attributed to the 112th Pope on the list, says that he will feed the sheep in many tribulations. With the passing of Francis in April 2025, many Christians turned their eyes to this forgotten text, seeing in it a possible prophetic fulfillment. In times where faith and tradition intermingle with global crises, the death of a spiritual leader isn't just news, it's a trigger, a sign, a reminder that biblical prophecies may be knocking on our door more literally than we thought. And the question that echoes is, what will come next? Although the Catholic Church does not officially recognize this prophecy, the fact that it is being fulfilled with such precision, at least in appearance, cannot be ignored. Even more so when we look at the larger prophetic picture: conflicts, instability, moral scandals, and a thirst for spirituality that grows in the midst of chaos. No one wants to admit that the final judgment may be near. But what if we are already living inside it without realizing it? The people cry out for answers, and the prophecy resurfaces as an echo of the past that demands to be heard in the present. The detail that most intrigues scholars and faithful is the possible origin of the next pope. Names like Peter Turkson and Robert Sarah, both African, gain strength behind the scenes at the Vatican. And look how curious. Peter is a name directly associated with the final prophecy, and Roman can symbolize not only the city, but the institution. Would this new pope, not yet elected, be directly linked to the fulfillment of what was foreseen? When we look at biblical standards, God has always used names, nations, and symbols with deep spiritual meanings. And speaking of biblical standards, Paul warned in 2 Timothy 3:1-5 of the difficult times ahead, and described with surgical precision the behavior of mankind in these days: arrogance, selfishness, empty religiosity. Malachi's prophecy, though extra-biblical, seems to walk alongside these warnings. The most impactful? It does not invite us to panic, but to awakening. Perhaps the question is not whether the prophecy is real, but whether we are spiritually ready for what it announces. And that's where the next topic gains even greater weight. It is not new that Christians have asked themselves, how do we know if we are living in the last days? The Bible, with its prophetic accuracy, has left us a map full of signs, but many choose to ignore them. In Matthew 24:7, Jesus declares that there would be wars, famines, and earthquakes in various places. Today, There is no shortage of headlines confirming this. Conflicts spread, natural disasters increase in intensity and frequency, and hunger still devastates millions. But the scariest thing is to realize that all of this has become normal. There is also a type of earthquake that does not appear in the newspapers, the destruction of inner faith. In 1 Timothy 4:1, the Apostle Paul warns that in the last times, many would abandon the faith following doctrines of demons. We are seeing exactly that. A generation disconnected from the truth, influenced by empty spiritualities, ego-adapted gospels, and a culture that idolizes pleasure. Bible prophecy doesn't just speak of outward signs, it speaks of a moral and spiritual collapse that would come quietly, disguised as progress. These signs are everywhere, and what was once unthinkable is now promoted as a virtue. The trivialization of life, the destruction of the family, the inversion of values. Everything seems to fit together like pieces of an eschatological puzzle. And the more these pieces line up, the more we feel the chill down our spine. We are closer than we imagined. Bible prophecy was not written to entertain or frighten, but to prepare. The signs of the end are not random coincidences. They are milestones of a plan that was already determined from the beginning. And those who ignore these signs risk repeating the mistake of Noah's generation, which ate, drank, married, and were given in marriage until the flood surprised them. Jesus made a point of remembering this in Matthew 24:37-39. That is, the end times will not be preceded by dramatic alarms for all to hear, but by distractions that seem harmless. The world will keep turning as always, until it no longer rotates. That is the sneaky nature of the end, and only those who watch can discern it. The book of Revelation offers us a vivid and symbolic picture of these days. The four horsemen represent conquest, war, famine, and death, realities that pulsate before our eyes. What if the riders are already riding? What if what we interpret as the distant future is actually our present? Bible prophecy is in motion, and the signs of the end continue to intensify. But to understand what will come next, we need to look at a figure who represents the apex of rebellion against God, a prophetic character who approaches the headlines, the Antichrist. If the signs of the end are the whispers of the apocalypse, the Antichrist will be its loudest cry. The Bible does not leave us in the dark about this character. He is described as a seductive, manipulative leader who will stand up against all that is sacred. In 1 John 2:18, we are already told that the Antichrist is coming, and that many Antichrists were already in the world. This leads us to a reflection. Is the spirit of the Antichrist already at work among us? Our ideologies that deny the divinity of Christ and promote moral chaos its precursors. In 2 Thessalonians 2:3-4, Paul speaks of a man of sin who will oppose God and sit in the temple, impersonating him. What is most striking about this passage is not only the content, but the context. It comes at a time of apostasy, of massive abandonment of the true faith. Are we seeing this now? Perhaps not yet in its full form, but the contours are already visible. A world desperate for solutions will be easily deceived by someone who promises peace, even if it costs the truth. The Great Tribulation will be more than a period of persecution. It will be a spiritual identity crisis. Those who are of God will need to prove their faithfulness with their lives. In Matthew 24:21, Jesus warns that there will be great distress, such as has not been since the world's beginning until now. We are not talking about an economic crisis or a political collapse alone, but an invisible war for the human soul. And the more the system closes against the truth, the clearer the role of the Antichrist in this prophetic machinery becomes. Revelation 13 reveals frightening details. A beast that dominates nations, demands worship, and imposes a mark, the famous 666. This number has been debated for centuries, but its symbolism is clear. It represents an imperfect, rebellious, and anti-God system. It is not just a person, but a structure that will be consolidated to control, seduce, and destroy. When everything seems to be working perfectly under this new regime, it will be the greatest deception ever orchestrated on earth, and many, unfortunately, will accept it. But even in the face of this bleak scenario, Bible prophecy does not leave God's people without direction. The apocalypse reveals not only the advance of evil, but also the resistance of the faithful, the ones that will not bend, those who prefer eternity to fleeting comfort. These will be like lights in the midst of the growing darkness, and no matter how intense the tribulation is, it will be limited by God, because after it, something glorious approaches. An event so awaited, so powerful, that will change everything. And that's what we'll talk about next. In the midst of so many prophetic shadows, there is a promise that shines like a beacon in the darkness: the second coming of Christ. When all seems lost, when chaos reigns and human structures collapse, heaven will not be silent. John 14:3 records Jesus' words, "I will return and take you to myself, that you may be where I am." It's a personal promise, a definitive response to the cry of all hearts that still wait, even in the midst of pain. And this hope, it is alive. The second coming will not be a secret or symbolic event. It will be visible, thunderous, glorious. In Revelation 1:7 it is written, "Behold, he is coming with clouds, and every eye shall see him." No one will escape this vision. Those who mocked, summer. Those who doubted, summer. Those who believed, they will rejoice. This return will mark the end of lying and the beginning of a new era, and it will be at this moment that all biblical prophecies will find their culmination, the prophetic fulfillment par excellence. But the question that echoes in the hearts of many is, why hasn't Jesus returned yet? Peter answers this in 2 Peter 3:9. The Lord is not slow to fulfill his promise, as some think. He is patient, desiring that no one perish. What seems like a delay, it is grace. The time we live in now is a time of repentance, reconciliation, preparation. God is giving the last generation the chance to align with the eternal purpose. But that window won't stay open forever. Revelation 21:4 gives us one of the most moving visions in the Bible, a new heaven, a new earth, where there will be no more death, nor mourning, nor outcry, nor pain. This is not utopia, it's destiny. A destiny that awaits those who persevere, who do not negotiate their faith, who live as citizens of the kingdom even before it is fully manifested. That is why Bible prophecy is not to be feared, but understood as an invitation to preparation. Because the end times, it is for the faithful the beginning of eternity, and in this preparation, Jesus left us clues, advice, and warnings. One of the most powerful is in the parable of the 10 virgins in Matthew 25:1-13. They were all waiting for the groom, but only 5 had their lamps on. This teaches us that not everyone who waits. Are you ready? To have the appearance of faith is not the same as to have an active, watchful faith, filled with the oil of the Spirit. And maybe that's the difference between being taken or be left. And that's why the last theme of this video couldn't be any other. The death of Pope Francis may even seem to many just another event in the chronology of history. But for those with spiritual eyes, this moment rings as a prophetic alarm. It's not about sensationalism, it's about surveillance. Jesus warned us in Matthew 24:42, "Watch yourselves, for you do not know on what day your Lord is coming." This is not a vague warning, it is a personal calling, a reminder that even if the world sleeps, the children of light must be awake. Being vigilant does not mean living in fear or paranoia, it means living in purpose. It means adjusting the heart, mind, and life to the perspective of heaven. Bible prophecy shows us that time is not repeating itself, it is speeding up. The signs of the end are visible, but our response to them is what truly defines our destiny. It is not enough to know that the Pope is dead. You need to understand what this awakens spiritually in you. And maybe, just maybe, God is calling you to wake up now. Surveillance involves action. It involves choices that in the eyes of the world seem crazy, but in God's eyes, they are seeds of eternity. The last generation will be known not for fear, but for firmness. Not out of despair, but out of hope. Not because of confusion, but because of prophetic clarity. And for that, it is not enough to have a Bible on the shelf. It is necessary to have the Word alive in the heart, because when the final winds blow harder, only those who have roots deep in the rock will remain standing. The final judgment will come as no surprise to those who have walked with discernment. The second coming of Christ will not be a terror to those who have walked in faith. The death of the Pope, the rumors of war, the deceptions of the Antichrist, all these are only the prelude. The question that echoes is not when will it all happen, but how will you be when it happens? Because more important than identifying the prophetic fulfillment, it is to be spiritually aligned to be counted among those who will overcome. And if you've made it this far, it's not by chance. Maybe God is showing you that this message isn't just informative, it's transformative. You have been called for this hour. And now that we have talked about what is happening in the spiritual world, we need to talk about what is being built in secret in the heart of Jerusalem. Because as everyone looks to Rome, there is a silent sign emerging in the Middle East, and it may be directly linked to the activation of the most awaited prophetic system of revelation. Now that you've seen how a single event, the death of the Pope, can carry a prophetic echo, the question is, what are you going to do with it? Are you just going to watch from afar, as if watching the storm form on the horizon? Or will you position yourself as someone who discerns the signs of the end and decides not to be caught off guard? Are you spiritually awake or just religiously informed? He is prepared to face the deceptions of the Antichrist. Or does it still rely on human systems to validate its faith? Because in this end time, it will not be titles, positions, or traditions that will protect us. It will be the living truth within us. How many more prophecies need to be fulfilled before you take this seriously? Could it be that the last generation that the Bible mentions, is it yours? What if the prophetic clock is not only ticking forward, but about to run out? These are questions that cannot be ignored. And it is precisely they who will separate the awakened from the asleep. If this content made you reflect, share it with someone who is still in the dark. Comment here. Do you believe that we are really in the last days? Your vision can inspire others, and perhaps even save them from the illusion. And if you haven't signed up yet, click on the red button, activate the bell, and stay with us. Because what's to come, it will impact you even more. In the next video, you'll find out why Jerusalem may be closer to becoming the epicenter of the apocalypse than ever before in history. Something is being built, and it's not just stone upon stone. It is prophecy upon prophecy. Don't miss it.